Ace Jack, got my bullets and diamonds, and I ain't holding back. I'm all in. Yeah, I'm gonna kick it. Pocket rockets a ticket. If you got what it takes, you can play high stakes. I'm all in. These ladies ain't ladies unless they your ladies. Put your hand on the monster, that's what it takes. And if you got what it takes, then you can play high stakes.
High Stakes Poker on GSN.
Last time on High Stakes Poker, Daniel Negreanu used $1 million of his own money to push the table around.
Not at all, I can't call.
Ted Forrest took a beating and was wiped out by amateur Dr. Amir Nasseri. But Forrest dug deep into his pocket for a $50,000 rebuy. Will he finally be able to turn the tables on the competition? It's the ultimate in high stakes poker, coming to you from the Golden Nugget Hotel and Casino in downtown Las Vegas. Welcome to High Stakes Poker. I'm AJ Benza alongside co-host and poker analyst Gabe Kaplan. Now, Gabe, the players seemed a little conservative early on. Then things really heated up after Daniel Negreanu used his $1 million to push the table around.
Well, bullying the table with massive chip counts is just one of the strategies that these guys use. In the coming weeks, we're going to see all sorts of tactics, and most of them are going to be subtle.
Now, any ideas what strategies we should be looking for?
All sorts of stuff. Sometimes a player might bluff, and every time he bluffs, he might clear his throat or have a little nose twitch. Now, the next time he clears his throat or has a nose twitch, he won't be bluffing. He'll have the absolute nuts, or maybe he'll have a cold. One thing for sure, the players don't like the fact that the amateur Dr. Amir Nasseri has $100,000 of their money.
What about Dr. Jerry Buss? Are we going to see him play a few more hands?
Well, Jerry generally coasts for a while, but he revs up his game in the playoffs.
Well, the game's revving up here and the gloves are coming off, so let's see who survives this high-stakes poker showdown.
You made a mistake.
Now let's drop it on the action. Antes are $100, blinds are $300 and $600.
You shouldn't. You even said it when you had
Ted Forrest, the five-time World Series of Poker bracelet winner, took a hit and lost $90,000 earlier, but he's got $60,000 in front of him now. He calls with a king-6 suited. That's young pro Daniel Alahi. Action is now to Dr. Amir Nasseri, a Las Vegas gynecologist and amateur. He folds. LA Lakers owner Jerry Buss is out. Action is to Daniel Negreanu with $1.1 million. He calls with pocket sevens. Barry Greenstein, he's out.
I don't know if I raised.
As is Hall of Famer Doyle Brunson with over $500,000. Jennifer Harmon, often referred to as the best female player in the world, has an ace-4 offsuit and $125,000. And she checked from the big blind. So it'll be three players heading to the flop. Ace-4-3 with two hearts.
Jennifer's flopped top two pair, and she checks, and Ted Forrest has the nut flush draw, and he checks.
16.
Daniel Negreanu is going to find out if his sevens are good, puts out a little feeler bet of 1,600, and I got a feeling he's going to find out right away.
Looks like she flopped the wheel. Yesterday she's telling me she wanted all no-brainers. Let me just flop the nuts every hand.
Straight, set.
Well, Jennifer doesn't have the wheel, ace through 5, but she does have two pair. Harmon raises to $6,600. It takes the pot over $11,000, and the action's on Ted Forrest.
He could raise here. He's got the nut flush draw, but he just calls.
What I'm doing in this spot, I have no idea.
Now, Jennifer's got to be thinking that Ted might have a flush draw because he just called, waiting to see the next card.
Turn card's a king of spades. Harmon still leads with two pair. Forrest now has a pair of kings to go along with his flush draw.
Now, Jennifer is probably going to want to make a sizable bet here. If Ted has a flush draw, she doesn't want him to make it, so she should bet at least 20,000, at least more than the size of the pot. Make sure Ted goes out.
These are 10.
Harmon bets $11,000.
Well, that's not enough to make Ted Forrest go out. It is enough for your buy-in and transportation and meals at the World Series of Poker, but Ted's going to have to call this. Jennifer is gambling by letting Ted Forrest in here.
I never looked at it. He knows he's not going to pretty bad. That's a different thing.
Here, you know.
I don't believe Ted is going to raise here. I believe he's just going to call.
After like the third or fourth levels.
Well, he's fooled me before. He might raise.
That is like.
I watched it. I mean,
But, you know, but it's sometimes on TV it's hard to say. So like Doyle.
Ted Forrest calls, and the pot is now over $39,000. So it'll be Harmon and Forrest to the river, which is an 8 of spades. Harmon has the hand one with two pair, aces and fours, unless she folds.
Well, that's not
She checks. She's trying to induce a bluff here, and there's no way she's going to fold no matter what Ted Forrest bets.
Well, Ted's content to check his kings, and Jennifer Harmon will take down over $39,000.
Just aces and fours.
What ended up happening? No brainer.
Daniel Negreanu knows about a cash game as well as anyone else in the world.
Get a hold of chips, but ones where I raise and don't call.
One of the key things that you have to think about when you're playing cash game poker is being able to take a punch to the stomach and not folding. In a tournament, if you lose your bankroll, you're out of the tournament. Big deal. You know, you move on to the next day. In a cash game, you lose everything in front of you. You know, you start steaming, and now instead of losing 100,000 like you should have, you end up losing like 1 million because you start to play bad, you lose your focus, and you do what's called steaming. So the biggest adjustment is basically emotional stability. If you're not emotionally stable enough to lose a couple 100,000 and say, you know what, happens, then you shouldn't be playing high-stakes poker.
I don't know about you, Gabe, but I'm not emotionally stable enough to play poker or even Uno.
All you beginners out there, remember that. If you lose 200,000 in a cash game, don't go for the full million. Because that's what Daniel bought in here for, $1 million.
Actions to Barry Greenstein. He put in for 100 grand. He's got a 10-9 suited. He raises to 2,000. Doyle Brunson calls with pocket eights. The table folds around to Dr. Nassiri with a queen-jack offsuit. He's got about $200,000 in front of him. That is the big blind. It's going to cost another $1,400 to call. He calls. So we have 3 players headed to the flop.
And if you have 10, you can find 10. A couple pens.
Jerry Buss is tipping the cocktail waitress $5. He must have given her 500. She left so quickly.
Flop comes 3-6-5 with 2 spades, giving Greenstein a flush draw.
5-6. That was close.
Now Doc here is pondering this. He bet 6,000. He doesn't think that flop has helped either Barry or Doyle.
With just a queen high, can he outplay the pros? Welcome back to High Stakes Poker. Dr. Amir Nassiri, an amateur, has just bet 6,000 on queen high into 2 world-class players, Barry Greenstein and Doyle Brunson. Greenstein calls, so the action's to the legend, Doyle Brunson.
Doyle has what you call an all-purpose hand here. He can raise, call, or fold. And he plays it conservatively and folds the eights.
So we're down to 2 in the turn cards, an 8 of clubs, which would have given Brunson a set of eights.
Don't be disgusted, Dolly. You only would have made 3 eights.
Nassiri continues with his plan to steal the pot. He bets $11,000 on just queen high.
And now beside his flush draw, Barry's picked up an inside straight draw. A red 7 would give Barry the absolute nuts. 7 of spades would give him a flush and a straight.
Cool. Okay, so I just need 1 pen, 1 paper. Perfect. He's going to need 1 too. Here's your pen, Doyle.
No. That's very well.
Barry Greenstein does go over the top of Amir Nassiri, re-raising to $61,000.
Raised 50,000 more.
Barry Greenstein's class showed there. He read Amir correctly, knew he couldn't call a raise, and Barry didn't want to wait till the river to see if he made his hand. He wanted to win it right there on the turn.
Well, if the doctor wanted to steal that pot, he should have brought his surgical mask so he could hide his tell from Greenstein.
Contrary to what most people probably think, they're used to seeing professional sports where the best players are always going against the best players. The truth is, I haven't made my money trying to always beat the best players in the game. I've made my money because there are weaker players in the game, and I've been able to take advantage of the fact that they don't play poker as well as I do. Although it might be kind of predatory, that's the way I make my living.
There's the predator in his natural habitat.
There's another predator.
I say, normally I can tell whether Ted's got a girlfriend dressing him or not by...
And there's the female of the species.
Barry, I broke down.
I've got an opinion now.
I bought some clothes. It was like culture shock. I spent like $13,000.
Oh, you had to go shopping for yourself?
No, I went with somebody else. I mean, I would have spent a lot less if I went myself.
Right. I believe that. Oh, you got to see what those things cost. Well,
Yeah,
especially you go to the shops in Vegas.
Did you go to Ross?
No.
Harmon's already called with 7-5 suited, and Forrest raised the $2,500 with jacks.
What do you got, about 30 or so? No, 50, 40?
Somewhere around that area.
Okay.
42,000 or something.
You put 25 out there?
2,500, yes.
Before we start to lose a big pot, where I'd loosen up.
I wonder how much Doyle has to lose before he feels comfortable enough to start playing. Negreanu's called a $2,500 raise, as does Harmon, so we'll head to the flop. It's a 3, Queen, 5, and 2 spades. Harmon pairs with 5. Negreanu's on a flush and straight draw. Forrest bets $5,000. Now to Negreanu with an ace-high flush and gut shot straight draw.
He's back even.
He raises to $10,000. He'll put the pressure on Harmon and Forrest.
What is ace king? Is that five?
King high, Daniel.
3, but if one of them
What's
in the
that?
middle, it's
You
5.
probably have king high.
No,
you
I
probably have
promise.
king high.
I don't have
Ace
king high.
is 3.
Promise.
You don't have what?
I don't have king high. Promise. Scout's honor.
We see Daniel raising here on a big draw, similar to what Barry did on the last hand on 4th Street, but he's doing it on the flop.
Harmon's out and Forrest quickly calls, so we're down to 2 players.
2 ahead up.
Turn cards an ace, giving Negreanu the top pair. Aces.
Now, Ted Forrest doesn't like that ace. Anything higher than a jack, actually, is bad for his hand.
I said, you're going to contaminate me.
I'm not sick anymore. It's just the end of it.
You hear yourself
It's just
cough?
the end of
Yeah,
it.
right.
How much
I
is that?
promise you.
15,000.
Before I was coughing every 4 seconds.
Forrest leads out with a $15,000 bet.
And Doyle is worried about catching Jennifer's cold.
Can't be
That's a defensive bet by Ted Forrest. Wants to see where he stands in the
I'm
pot.
going to raise it.
Daniel raises to $50,000, and
50
Ted
straight.
knows his jacks are beat.
When somebody throws that in, you know it's a good hand,
You were
right?
just waiting for that to be able to throw cash.
Yeah.
So Daniel Negreanu rakes in over $94,000 and pushes Ted Forrest deeper into the hole, while Negreanu is now about $140,000 ahead.
We should call Daniel the Green Bombardier. Likes to throw those $50,000 cash bombs in the center of the table.
Apparently you didn't have king high.
No, I didn't have king high. I'm telling you, I didn't have king high. At
Well, the
ace high.
table's been a little unkind to Ted Forrest. He's down to about $25,000 from the $150,000 he's bought in with. He's taking shots from everybody at the table, but he's not taking it personally.
You're in the sleep.
I think in poker, you're best off taking your ego out of the game. Don't hate somebody because they beat you a pot. Don't try to specifically beat that person. Just try to make good decisions and just try to win the money from wherever it's going to come, not specifically from one person that you feel beat you or put a beat on you.
How big are you guys?
Ted Forrest, the poker flower child. Actually, nothing he's done here has worked, and he's sinking far in the hole. Let's see if his luck changes here.
I mean, how much? 4,000 in the middle and 2,000.
Yeah.
Oh, for the jack, 4,000 in the middle.
Play resumes with
12.
Daniel Elahi, the young pro. Hasn't had a lot of good hands, but he's played with class. He's down about $40,000. Peaks down at a couple of queens. He raised it to $2,200.
200 straight.
Actions to the Las Vegas gynecologist, Dr. Amir Nasiri. He looks to gamble on his 8-7 offsuit. And calls. Now Lakers owner Jerry Buss, another amateur with an
I had it, too.
ace-queen offsuit, makes the call.
Listen, I was trying to steal, and
I had an ace.
so what? Who cares?
The table folds to Doyle Brunson with pocket fours.
What'd you have?
And he calls.
You got some people on
Harmon's looking down at a king-jack offsuit.
Why would you lie? Respectable doctor and everything.
She's going to call.
There you go, baby.
Ted Forrest, who's stuck $125,000, but he'll gamble on a 6-5 suited. It's a 6-player traffic jam with $14,000 in the pot. Flop comes deuce 6-6.
6 players.
See, being a flower child gets you good karma. Ted Forrest has flopped 3 6s, and having the love of his fellow man, he checks it.
Check.
My deuce 4-6. Deuce 4-6.
Doyle Brunson's going to push the issue. He takes an $11,000 stab at the pot with pocket fours. Now we'll see how far Ted Forrest's slow play can get him. Welcome back to High Stakes Poker. We've got 6 players in the hand, and Doyle Brunson's just bet $11,000, hoping to take down the pot with pocket fours. But Ted Forrest has flopped a set of 6s, so this could be trouble for Doyle.
Well, not that much trouble. He can only lose $14,000 to Ted. That's all Ted has left. And Ted, continuing his Albert Schweitzer attitude, would just call the $11,000. And Daniel Elahi is starting to suspect something. I don't think he's worried too much about Doyle, but why is Ted Forrest just calling 11,000 when he's got 14,000 left? He's very suspicious of Ted.
Elahi makes the call, and the pot is now up to $47,000.
Did you got chips?
Yeah, I got plenty, Doyle.
Okay, I don't care how many.
I got 3 dimes. That's probably going in there.
Each dime's $1,000.
3 players.
Down to 3 players now. Turn cards a deuce, giving Forrest the full house.
I'm all in.
3,000, we said.
Forrest keeps his word and puts in his last $3,000. Actions to Elahi.
All in.
He makes a crying call for $3,000. The only way he can win this pot is to catch a queen on the river.
And remember, there's only 1 queen left because Jerry Buss had a queen. And Doyle won't call for $3,000. All that experience told him that he's drawing dead.
No queen for Elahi, and Forrest triples up, has the best hand with a full house. He wins $53,000. Even though that's more than what most people make in a year, Ted's still down almost $100,000.
Yes, but he's just tripled up. His luck might be changing.
Just goes to show you that anything can happen in No Limit Texas Hold'em.
Yeah, we've shipped them the books, done everything.
The cash game continues, and we've seen hundreds of thousands of dollars change hands.
I'm missing a prop.
Table folds to Forrest with a 5-3 suited. He calls.
People might be wondering why. A 5-3 suited is a good hand to see a flop with. As long as nobody raises, you're all right.
Every time 2 5s come out.
Yeah. Big sweat.
Table folds around
$100 chip
to Barry Greenstein.
Yours?
Now raises with $3,600 with pocket 9s.
And Ted's going to call this raise with the 5-3 suited.
Yeah,
now this is called gambling.
Oh, I know what it was. No.
And it looks like Dr. Nassiri is thinking about gambling also with his Jack 6 of clubs.
7, yeah. After this hand.
Yeah, he calls.
So the flop comes Queen, King 8 with 2 clubs, giving Nassiri a flush draw.
Well, that's a scary flop for 2 9s. But evidently not to Mr. Greenstein. He bet 6,500.
65.
Now, Ted Forrest has missed the flop here. But he sensed something in the way Barry made that $6,500 bet. He's raised to 21-5 with absolutely nothing. A stone-cold bluff. Now, Dr. Nassiri here has caught a good flop. He's got the second nut flush draw. When you call a raise before the flop with Jack 6 of clubs, this is the kind of flop you hope for. It's going to cost him $21,500 cash to draw to his flush.
That's right, I got it.
Very surprisingly, he throws his hand away. And Barry throws his hand away. Ted Forrest shows how good a player he is there. He wants to make sure everybody sees that 5-3 of hearts.
Nice flush draw.
Me too.
I had you beat.
I had backdoor hearts.
My one's a little bit stronger than that.
Yes, 4 clubs against 3 hearts.
Ted Forrest is building momentum. Can he win all his money back? High stakes poker from Las Vegas, coming to you from the Golden Nugget Hotel and Casino. And as you can see, the high stakes cash game attracts a different kind of crowd.
Yeah, once someone gets a $500 tip, those cocktail waitresses start to multiply.
Actions to Jerry Buss, who was very generous with the cocktail waitress, but hasn't been generous with his money with the people around the table. Folds with the Queen 8 offsuit. Action falls to Brunson.
Forget about it, Doyle.
Can't do it. I'm losing the props.
A props Doyle is talking about are side bets that they make on what the flop's going to be, but more about that later.
What's your big boy?
Doyle raises to $2,500, and Forrest is the only caller. And Nassiri stays out of the hand, so Forrest and Brunson head to the flop. It's Queen 9-7, missing both players. Check to the turn. 3 of spades.
We play the turns, so now 9-7-3. Neither of us are in the hand.
Right. So you could call
Brunson tosses $6,000 cash into the pot with ace high.
That's too much for me. Once the flop's over, I like to be done with it.
And again, Ted Forrest shows the class of player he is, calling with a pair of sixes, reading Doyle Brunson perfectly.
Whoa, and he gets another 6 on the river.
Yes, but it's a very dangerous 6. It's a 6 of diamonds, which puts a possible flush out there, also several possible straights. Now, Doyle realizes that he cannot win this hand by checking. All he's got is ace high, so he's going to represent that he's made something, that he's made a flush or a straight, if he bets. And he looks like he's going to.
And he does, and Brunson makes it $22,000.
Now, Ted Forrest is definitely not going to lay down 3 sixes. He called before with just 2 sixes. So we know he's going to call. He's probably thinking about, is it worth a raise? But that is really a dangerous card, 6 of diamonds.
The pot is at $40,700. Is Ted Forrest thinking of raising or just calling here?
I feel like putting it all on.
Forrest calls.
Good go. I'm a little better than bluffing this idiot.
Did Doyle Brunson just call Ted Forrest an idiot?
I think so.
Well, the idiot just took down a $63,000 pot. Actually, these guys are good friends, so they call each other those kind of names all the time.
I thought about folding.
I just wonder what I would have done if I couldn't have caught that 6. Like if a nice king ball comes up and you fire 22,000 at it. Could I have called you? I don't know. It would have been tough.
The idiot is discussing now if he could have called that last bet if that 6 didn't come on the river.
She moved to a different location.
Did she?
Yeah, like a little further out.
Jennifer Harmon folds. Daniel Alehi folds. Action's on Dr. Amir Nasiri now with an ace-jack suited. He raises the $3,000. Table folds to Doyle Brunson.
Doyle, who says he never steams, comes back off the canvas and calls 3,000 with a 3-4 offsuit.
Flop is an ace-5 deuce with 2 clubs. Whoa, Doyle's hit the jackpot here. Nasiri makes his aces, but Brunson's flopped a straight. Nasiri's headed for a train wreck. Will he survive? We're back for more high-stakes poker. It's a battle between the amateur Dr. Amir Nasiri and the legend Doyle Brunson. Brunson's flopped a straight, and Nasiri paired his ace.
And Doyle bets out here $6,500, a great bet, and Nasiri should be in big trouble in this hand. He's got the kind of flop he wanted. Doyle was smart enough to make a bet here. A very shrewd play, trying to trap Amir Nasiri into raising and losing a huge amount of money in this hand.
Nasiri just calls. So we'll head to the turn. It's a 9 of clubs, no help to either player.
Yes, but they don't know that. Both players are going to be concerned about the flush now, and this is going to spoil Doyle Brunson's party. Doyle checks.
And Nasiri checks. So they'll go to the river card. 10 of spades. Now, Doyle Brunson has the best hand. Now we'll see how much he can get out of Nasiri.
Well, he realizes it now. He realizes that he has the best hand, that Nasiri doesn't have a flush.
He bet $40,000. And Nasiri lays down his aces.
Yeah, that 9 of clubs on the turn was unfortunate for Doyle, and I think he priced himself out of the market on the river. If he would have bet something like $15,000, he might have got called.
No disrespect, Doyle.
So Doyle Brunson takes down $60,000. That's a new luxury sedan for most of us, but it's just one more hand of poker for these guys.
Who's on its way? 10 minutes?
Daniel Alai.
What kind of food?
The real 10 minutes?
He folds.
Here's 50 bucks to slow it up for us. Put pressure on
The doctor's right back in it. He calls the $600 blind with his king-queen offsuit.
I told him to get some noodles.
And the table falls to Brunson, who also has a king-queen offsuit.
Danny, I got to go to work. Loosen up a little bit.
Check.
What time you got to get work?
I won my 2 hands. I'm done. I don't want to leave it money. Huh? Not yet, but, you know, I want to put it all on before I go.
Flop is a 7-10-3 with 2 clubs. Harmon pairs with 7 and takes the lead.
I'm not betting for them.
I got 2 also.
Check though.
Table checks, and the turn card's a deuce, giving Forrest a pair of deuces.
Oh, we're playing the twos?
Harmon bets $2,000 on his sevens.
No one bet on the flop, and Jennifer thinks maybe her sevens are good. And it looks like Ted Forrest is going to try and convince her that they're not. He's raising, making $8,000 with a pair of deuces.
Yes, you.
Well, the Syrian and Brunson fold over to Harmon. Pressure's on to call with another $6,000.
You should have seen the last hand.
She just said something to Ted indicating that he might be trying to steal a pot from her, and Jennifer does not like someone taking her pots away.
That's it. I have call.
Harmon makes the call.
Great call.
Sub will head to the river. It's an ace giving Forrest 2 pair.
Jennifer got real unlucky here. Now Ted's trying to act like he's concerned about that ace. The reality is it was a great card for him. He's hoping now that Jennifer has a pair of tens and he's going to try and get some money from her by pretending he's missed a draw, like a flush draw or a straight draw. He could have had 8-9. Jennifer made a great call on the turn, and now she has the worst hand. But like I said, she hates to get bluffed.
Ah, boy. What's my winner now? How much?
Pot is over $30,000.
Seems like never had enough to...
It's a good down payment on a house, huh?
What, you keeping score too?
Yeah.
Probably going to be about the same on his sheet.
What do you got? 25, 10, and 5?
We don't have a chauvinist attitude at the table. They're giving Jennifer total silence while she has this big decision to make. She can hear them talking over her Duran Duran or whatever music she's listening to. I don't think she's happy about it.
Jennifer Harmon makes a very good laydown, saving herself $11,000, and Ted Forrest wins another big pot.
Jennifer played that hand perfectly. She bet when she had the best hand. She called when Ted Forrest bluffed, and when he drew out on the river, she threw her hand away.
Yeah, you bluffed me, didn't you? I actually put you on 4-5.
4-5 got there.
I know.
I didn't have 4-5,
But he'll leave her hanging.
You're right, AJ. Ted Forrest does not want to give away too much information. No limit hold'em is psychological warfare.
Was 15, maybe 10.
Well, Forrest has pocket kings to go along with his mind games. He raises the $2,500. The series folds. Jerry Buss with a pair of tens calls. And Daniel Negreanu calls from the big blind with a king-jack offsuit. He's been rather quiet lately. Flop comes 6-7-7, the board pair sevens. Jerry Buss starts things off.
Oh, I see.
With a $6,000 bet.
That's a good bet on Jerry's part. He's got an overpair pair of tens. But Ted Forrest realizes that Jerry Buss doesn't have 3 sevens, and he probably has the best hand right now. And if an ace or a diamond doesn't come, Ted Forrest is going to take control of this hand. It's a queen of spades. Jerry check. Now Ted is absolutely positive he has the best hand.
7, right?
Huh?
Okay.
Well, Ted thinks the right amount is $10,000, and Buss quickly calls.
He may be putting Ted Forrest on a draw.
That's more frustrating than anything.
And now the river card, a 9, and Ted Forrest with kings and sevens is still the best hand.
Jerry's check.
I have 3 sevens in my props with all little cards.
Forrest bets $10,000 again.
And Jerry's going to call. He's going to make Ted Forrest prove that he can beat his tens.
Tens, Jerry, or jacks? Yeah, nice hand.
Jack.
Look at that. Ted Forrest knew that Jerry Buss had tens or jacks. How'd you like to be in a poker game with him, AJ?
Never mind. And after being down over $120,000, Ted Forrest is making an incredible run to the table.
Gotta open up this
One of my strengths is reading players, kind of getting into their heads and thinking about what they would do with certain types of holdings, being able to narrow down what kind of cards they're playing with, and oftentimes I surprise myself and sometimes get their exact cards right.
Gabe, remind me never to play poker against Ted, would you?
I just did.
Actions to Doyle Brunson with a queen 10 suited. He calls.
Yeah.
Jennifer Harmon will play her 7-5 of diamonds. Jerry Buss with a jack 9 offsuit is in. Negreanu and Greenstall will call from the blinds. So we have five-way action.
You protected me, Jennifer. Thank you. My nose is running.
Your what? Your nose?
Doyle is still concerned about catching Jennifer's cold.
You didn't catch it from me.
Flop comes 10-5 fall with 2 hearts. Brunson flops top pair. Both Negreanu and Harmon pair their 5s. Negreanu's bet $1,600. Brunson calls.
Doyle's playing a little cautiously here, but you can't blame him. He's got 5 players seeing the flop.
Buss folds. It's down to 2 now. And the turn cards at 3. No help to either player. Negreanu continues to push his 5s. He makes it $4,000 to go, and Brunson calls, and the pot is now $15,000. The river cards of 4 pairing the board. Now Negreanu checks.
Doyle bet $7,000 here. He's finally convinced that he's got the best hand. The only hand Daniel thinks he could beat is a busted flush draw. That's what he's trying to figure out. Is it worth $7,000? Does Doyle have 2 unrelated hearts in his hand?
Negreanu lays down the hand, and Doyle Brunson wins a $22,000 pot.
Anytime Doyle and Daniel are in a hand, there's $1.5 million at stake. Doyle's always got a smile on his face when he wins a pot.
Looks like the legend is ready to play.
Game show host, avid.
For more high-stakes poker coming to you from the Golden Nugget Casino.
It's kind of weird. It's still hard to think of this as real money.
Really?
Yeah, because tournaments.
You get stuck about 100,000. You start thinking of it as real money. Has anyone else rebought other than me?
You rebought?
Yeah, I rebought.
Players are discussing the fact that Ted Forrest rebought in for $50,000 in our first show. Remember, this is a cash game. It's not a tournament. The players can lose all the money in front of them, and they're allowed to reach in their pocket for more cash, but it has to be a minimum of $50,000.
And the rebuy has paid off for Ted. He's been on a $100,000 roller coaster ride, but he's almost back to being even now. He raises the $2,000 with an ace-queen suited. Elahi calls with a queen-jack of clubs. Actions to Negreanu.
Everything good over here?
And Negreanu raises on the button to $12,000. Just a 6-3 suited.
That's Sean Sheeky hoping someone goes broke so he can get in the game.
That's how bad you guys play.
Raised it to 12,000.
You look pretty sexy over there, Amir, with all that money.
That's the only way I look sexy, baby.
And Forrest and Elahi fold.
I had it.
What was it?
Either one was good.
Kings?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Pick one, Rick, pick one, pick one.
That one.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay. That was the good one.
Nice.
Ted Forrest is human after all. He completely misread Daniel Negreanu on that hand. He threw away way the best hand with his ace-queen suited.
Why are you playing like that, Danny?
I think it's a brilliant.
Why are you playing like that? Trying to be cute?
I'm having fun, bro.
Pick one.
You're not having fun?
No.
Sounds like the gynecologist is now playing psychologist and trying to get Daniel off his game.
Got to stir a pot to get it to boil.
Chef Brunson advises us that in Texas you got to stir water to get it to boil. He's in the big blind, his hand. Let's see if he stirs anything up.
Interesting how the game changes tonight, tomorrow.
When Danny's in the...
Jerry Buss makes a loose call for him with a 5-3 suited.
I call.
Negreanu's in with a ace-3 offsuit.
46.
Yeah.
What did you say? 4,600.
46 total.
4,000 extra.
This is what we call the Barry bluff. He's famous for this one. A couple people limp, he just takes the dead money. He's got like about a king 8 or some junk like that. Take it down, sir.
Thanks a lot.
The Barry play. We should coin that one. Like, oh, they're not going to call it. Oh.
Daniel's absolutely right. Barry was picking up the antes and blinds, and Daniel knew it.
Did you write about that one in the book? You did?
I already got him once.
Pounce on
that.
the
I don't do it.
weakness.
I don't do it, but once in that.
On to Barry?
It looked like a Barry play.
As the game continues, we're going to see a lot of this. People stealing the blinds, taking shots, trying to pick up a couple of thousand here and there and establish control.
Actions on Elahi with an ace-5 of spades.
Daniel Elahi started out with about 200,000. He's down 60,000. He's thinking of changing to tinted contacts. He calls. Dr. Nassiri's getting a little bored. He calls 600 with a 4-3 offsuit. Well, it'll work for Doyle. Let's see if it works for him.
5,000 straight.
Do it, Barry.
Well, Barry play continues as he raises to $5,000 with the king-queen suited. He wants to punish the limpers.
And it looks like he's going to be successful. Barry's going to win another uncontested hand.
Battery packing in, Jerry.
I want to see that hand.
No, that's a good hand.
It's a good hand?
That's not a Barry bluff.
I liked it.
He liked it.
That's at least a Jack-10 suited.
He probably had...
Looks like Ted Forrest's radar is working again. He's correct. Barry did have a good hand.
Barry Greenstein makes it back-to-back hands, and he leaves players guessing as he takes their money. We're back at the beautiful Golden Nugget with more high-stakes poker. As play continues, Gabe, we've seen momentum shift from one player to another throughout this cash game.
That'll happen in a cash game. The flow will change. Unlike a tournament, in cash games, the blinds and antes don't go up. So the players themselves have to stimulate the action. And as we've seen, that's happened.
Now, Forrest raises to $2,500 with a queen-3 suited.
You're not talking much down there, Jerry.
And Daniel Elahi is going to call with an 8-5 offsuit. I think he's calling mostly because he has the button. Ted Forrest is going to have to act first.
I hate sitting next to Danny. If Danny was
Flop comes 6, queen, king of different suits. Forrest pairs his queen. He checks to Elahi. And Elahi now attempts to steal by betting $4,000 with nothing.
There it is, man.
I didn't play this hand.
Ted Forrest looks like he's distracted here, but I guarantee you he's not. He calls for 4,000 with a pair of queens. He's a little concerned, but not distracted.
Turn cards, another king, pairing the board.
That's actually a good card for Ted Forrest because it makes it less likely that Daniel Elahi has a king. He's checked.
Elahi bets $14,000 into the pot, following through with his attempted robbery.
So we do now. Yeah, I mean, he just hit a double on it.
So is it 12, 5, and 17 or no?
And Forrest calls, sending the pot up over $42,000. River cards, a deuce of hearts, no help to either player.
Ted Forrest is checked.
No, I'm the loser. So you're on for...
Check. And Daniel Elahi cannot fire that last bullet. He decides to abort his plan.
And Ted Forrest will take down another healthy pot worth $42,600. Ted Forrest, once down 125 grand, is now up about 20,000. What a ride.
He's just always putting pressure on you, and you really do feel like you're in the eye of the hurricane. And even in No Limit Hold'em, the one thing that you feel about Ted is that he's getting in your brain. He knows what's going on, and Ted's not always that easy. It's not always that easy to get into Ted's head and know what he's doing. He's pretty tricky.
What Barry said is 100% correct. Ted Forrest has got back in this game by making correct reads on the other players.
Action's now on Doyle Brunson, who wakes up with pocket aces.
How much, Doyle?
26.
26?
It's weird.
No.
It is weird.
What's weird about it?
It's extra 2,000.
I can't believe I'm not playing this hand.
Neither can Doyle.
I'm even.
Ted Forrest is right again. Normally, I think he would play a 9-10 suited in that position for 2,600, but he threw it away.
Elahi calls with an 8-6 suited.
I'm going to go all there right now. Why not?
Jerry Buss picks up a nice hand on the button.
call?
No.
If you would let me know. He calls with King Jack suited. And Barry Greenstein's got pocket queens.
Uh-oh. This could spell disaster for Barry. He raises to 15,000, and that's just going to be the beginning of the fireworks.
Sammy just walks around in those actions.
Sammy, I got to have something in the middle all the time then.
What you're seeing now is Doyle Brunson's King Lear. He's given this performance many times in different cities all over the world.
When you come by, I know we're going to do a lot of games. These guys are
I'm all in.
All in?
Wow. He just bet $500,000 right here.
Whoa. Doyle Brunson moves $500,000 into the pot. Elia gets out of the way. Bus folds.
Sometimes you have to.
Okay. Barry's calling.
There's going to be some blood, gentlemen.
Barry didn't even think about it. He called immediately.
Putting in his last $82,000 into the pot.
What was your best hand, Jerry?
Greenstein's in trouble as we head to the flop. 3-8 ace, and Brunson flops a set of aces, and it's all but over for Barry Greenstein unless he gets running queens. Turn cards are 9, and Doyle Brunson wins the hand on nearly $200,000 in a single hand. Now that's high-stakes poker.
Kind of surprised me that Barry didn't hesitate for a second. I guess he was hoping that Doyle had ace-king or maybe a pair of jacks.
He's winning all money in the props now.
You can see Barry reaching deep into his pocket. Two $25,000 chips puts him right back in the game.
You had 9, 10 of hearts?
Gabe, can you believe the amount of cash that has exchanged hands in this game? We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. Ted Forrest was down 150 grand, and now he's ahead. In that last hand, Barry took a beating.
What was interesting, though, if you saw Barry and Doyle leave the room after that hand, you wouldn't know who won the $100,000 and who lost the $100,000. To those guys, it's just another day at the office.
I get that, but why were they holding hands?
They're fond of each other.
Survival of the fittest with cutthroat action at the high-stakes poker table. Next time on High Stakes Poker, half the table leaves the game, and 4 fresh players who've been waiting in the wings try to take a bite out of Daniel Negreanu's monster stack.
Raise it.
We're gambling, all right, boys. I like that.
Will they be predators or become prey to this aggressive high-stakes cash game? There's new blood, new money, new action. All next time on High Stakes Poker.
I'm all out.
Flashback.